Hey everyone! Today I'm going to be talking about Beartown by Frederick Backman. It's been a little while since I've reviewed a book. It's also been kind of a while since I've actually finished a book, at least one that I wasn't reading for class. And so this seemed like a good choice to be my first review in a while. And I read this for book club, and I have some mixed thoughts about it. I did generally enjoy it, but was not perfect. Um, so it's actually a translation originally written in Swedish, I believe, and it's from it's a novel. Uh, it takes place in Beartown, which is a small, rather isolated town in Scandinavia that's fallen on hard times. There used to be a factory there. I don't think it's ever mentioned exactly what the factory made, but it's been shutting down. More people get laid off every year. There's a lot of poverty, a lot of people have succumbed to alcoholism, and it's just generally a pretty kind of hopeless environment in the town. But the one hope they have is in their hockey club, specifically in their junior team, and their star player Kevin, who comes from a pretty one of the few affluent families in town. His father and both his parents actually are pretty successful business people. So and also Kevin is pretty naturally talented, but because his family is wealthy, they've been able to afford good trainers, good coaches, so to foster his talents. So he's pretty much the best player on the team, and it's all in addition to Kevin. There's another player named Benji, who's sort of like his, I guess in hockey terminology, he'd be what you call a goon. He's the insurance. He protects Kevin in all the games. And there's another player, Amat, who's Muslim, born in a Middle Eastern country, which I don't remember if it's ever specified. He gets kind of ostracized and others, but he's also a pretty gifted player. He's really fast, so they bump him up to the junior team. And this novel starts, shortly before the junior team is about to play their semifinal and then the final for the national hockey tournament. And if they win, then there will be a new hockey academy built in Beartown, and that's going to be a new job. It's going to revitalize the community. So people are putting a lot of hope on these three players: Kevin, Amat, and Benji. Now, so they win their semifinal. It's a huge victory. And then right after the game, there's a big party at Kevin's house where Maya, who's she's the daughter of the club's general manager. His name's Peter. She's kind of infatuated with Kevin, and they both get drunk, and Kevin rapes her. And she initially decides that she's not going to tell anyone because she feels like no one's going to believe her because it's a hockey town and Kevin is the star player. Ahmet actually walks in on them while the rape is occurring, and he initially doesn't tell anyone either because he's finally got a place where he belongs in the team, and he doesn't want to ruin that. Though Benji, who we later find out is gay and kind of in love with Kevin, sort of confronts Kevin afterwards and tells him, I know what you did, and what you did was wrong. But Kevin sort of, gives Benji the finger and tells him, you're not my friend anymore. So, but right before the junior team goes off to play the final, Maya decides to go to the police because she realizes that if she doesn't do something, then Kevin's just going to keep doing things like this over and over again, and someone has to do something. So the police arrest Kevin, right before he can leave to go to the final, and the team, they leave, Kevin behind because he's at the police station, and they get to the final and they play their hardest. They play the best they've ever played, but it's not enough. They still lose. So, the council who's in charge of the hockey academy decides they're not going to build it in Beartown, both because the team loses and because of the controversy around Kevin and Maya. Maya. So this pretty much turns the whole town against Maya, against Peter, her father, against the whole family. Everyone more or less sides with Kevin, and but Amat, he eventually does the right thing, and he goes to the police as a witness. Of course, the investigation gets dropped because there's no evidence, and Maya waited too long. And there's a lot of insights in this. It's about sort of human nature and community. It's about how the reason the town kind of turns against Maya and her family is because they're a hockey community, and Maya isn't fulfilling her place in the community. So it's a meditation about how, a community, it gives you safety, it gives you security, but it can also be a dangerous place if you're not willing to conform. And it's also about how, sports culture enables toxic behavior, because there are basically two coaches. There's Soon, who's like the kindly veteran coach who coaches the A team, which is the adult team, and David, who's Kevin's mentor and coaches the junior team. And they have like these conflicting philosophies where Soon believes that you should use sports to build character, to teach these young boys to be good people, and David says, no, you just need to teach them to win no matter what. Just do whatever you have to do to achieve your goals, and that works in hockey and that works in life. And towards the end, Soon says regarding Kevin, they're going to blame hockey for this, but this woman who runs the tavern, where it's called the Bear Skin, where everyone congregates in the community, she just slaps Soon and says, it is not hockey that did this to Kevin, that made him do this. It's because of all of us. Because in this community and in communities, especially here in America, where sports like, say, football or basketball are a big deal, you kind of lift these young boys up who are good players. You treat them like they're gods just because they're talented at a sport and tell them that they can do no wrong. You basically constantly you remove any obstacles in front of them. You just let them do whatever they want. And that's why things like rape happen. That's why young girls get taken advantage of, because these boys, they're basically told they can do no wrong and they can do whatever they want. So that was a really fascinating thing to explore. And, honestly, I was kind of, at the end, I was kind of glad that this community didn't get their hockey academy. I was kind of, and it's not nice to say, I was kind of glad that they got ruined, because they kind of deserved it, because all you cared about was that your team won. And you turned against this girl who was a victim and who was traumatized because you just didn't want to you didn't want to look yourself in the mirror and admit that you did something wrong, that you enabled this behavior. And it was really fascinating to see that, and I haven't read many books where that's explored, so it was really fascinating to read this. So on a thematic level, it was enjoyable. I kind of didn't like it that much on a writing level, because there's I didn't count how many characters. There's like maybe over a dozen different points of view. You get Kevin, you get Maya, Peter's wife, Kira, Maya's friend, Anna, you get Soon, David, this guy, Tails. Well, that's his nickname, because one time he wore a tuxedo with tails to a gala. So that's his name, and he runs a chain of grocery stores, and he's the team's biggest sponsor. You see Kevin's parents. You see, you get Benji's, Bobo's, Amat's. And it switches several times points of view from throughout a chapter, and it's kind of a little. It's a little hard to really bond with the characters. They don't really, you don't really get to see them develop properly just because you're constantly switching between them, and it's just kind of you get whiplash just flipping one point of view to the next, and they almost kind of don't feel like fully developed characters. Like they're just sort of these, like mouthpieces so that Frederick Backman can kind of explore his ideas. And again, the ideas are interesting, but it's also not necessarily working on that. It's not really like the characters just don't kind of feel like people. They feel a little bit like sketches, and it's kind of hard to empathize with them. I think the one character, or there were really only two characters that I really identified with, were Benji and Maya. Benji is kind of the voice of reason. He's a great player. He's Kevin's best friend. He's incredibly loyal to him, but he's also the moral center of the novel because he loves the team, he loves the town, but when Kevin rapes Maya, Benji just draws a line there and says, he just says, that's wrong, how could you do that? And Kevin, who, again, he's been built up by everyone around him, his parents just let him do whatever he wants. They don't guide him, they don't provide moral support for him. They just see him as, a trophy, just someone whose accomplishments they can brag about. So they build him up, they build up his accomplishments, don't connect with him emotionally, and he never has a sense of morality. So they just let him get away with this horrible thing he does. And like Benji is really the only one who just is willing to say it to Kevin's face that you did something wrong. David, Kevin's mentor and the hockey coach, he goes to Kevin and says, just look me in the eye and tell me you didn't rape her. But that's kind of feels like just David absolving himself, saying, well, I confronted him, when he told me he didn't rape her, so I believe her. And, it's obviously such a cop-out. But Benji is really the only one adjacent to Kevin who actually cares about morals. And of course, Maya, I feel really, you felt really sympathetic for, because, she did something very brave. She told on Kevin, reported the crime, even though she knew it was going to end badly. But yeah, other than Kevin, Benji, and Maya, I didn't really empathize. I didn't really connect with any of the characters just because they were just sort of sketches. It's kind of like the whole novel just feels like a philosophical exploration about community. And again, those ideas are interesting, but it doesn't necessarily work as a novel in a lot of places. And I also felt like Bachman was really, he was really laying the sob stories on thick. Every character had some tragic thing that had happened in their past. And after a while, it's just, all right, I get it, give me a break. So it felt like it was just like too much. And another thing is, I don't know if this is just because it was a translation, but there were a lot of very badly written sentences, a lot of ones that were too long with kind of not great punctuation where I had to reread them multiple times. But that was the stuff I didn't like. I did like the atmosphere of it. You know, I liked some of the insights. I mean, it's a very readable book. I think it's I breezed through it, and maybe that's because it wasn't too heavy. It wasn't too complex for its characters. That's kind of a good and a bad thing, but um, I guess I would give this like 3.5 out of 5 stars. Um, I have not seen the series that HBO made. I think I might. Um, Again, I'm not sure because I didn't love it. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I'm not. I don't think I wasted my time reading this. I don't know if I'd read it again. Um, I don't know and I don't know if I'm going to read any of the sequels to it because it is a trilogy. But yeah, I mean, enjoyable, good, not great. So that's Beartown. 3.5 out of 5 stars. Um, Thank you for watching. I'm gonna try to get more reviews up before I move to Florida, and that I am gonna make a video on that on my move from Indianapolis back to Florida. But yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Have a good day.